Okay, welcome guys. I'm very sorry for that. I had to stop the streaming because of there was a network issue. So I'm very sorry for that. So continuing where we stopped. I think this is okay. So I said that. Let me. So I said before you can go into conducting a research, particular research, you need to ask yourself these questions: who is the target audience for the research? What is the potential impact of this research? And what is important to do right now? So the first thing is to ask: who is the target audience for the research? Who are you dealing with? Which kind of people are you dealing with? Is it teenagers? Is it adults? Is it transport workers, nursing mothers, and the likes? And what is the potential impact of this research? Like the main goal of that research. Okay, these are information that is required for me. These are kind of questions that is needed to be answered. That is the aspect of how can this research impact your study, impact your design. So you need to know that, you need to take note of that. And why is this important right now? Why are you conducting that kind of research at that moment? So these are questions you need to ask yourself before going into the research study. Now, like I said earlier, that under the research plan, we have background, questions, hypotheses or assumptions. We also have methodologies and the schedule, right? So now, what's that background? Background is summary of what the story is about, why it is happening, as well as the stakeholders and target groups. So you need to have that in mind. Okay, these are the kind of stakeholders I'm dealing with, and these are the goals they want they want us to achieve. And your target groups, your kind of people you want to make the research with, that means your users, right? So then you move on to the questions. How does the questions look like, and your assumptions? Is your assumptions that bring out the questions, because it's based on what you think and the goals of the stakeholders that bring out this kind of questions. Is what you need to ask, is what needs to be put out there for users to answer. Then where you state the questions you want to answer through the research study, and or the hypotheses and assumptions your team has about users or processes. Okay, these are kind of hypotheses, some kind of assumptions you guys have. If you're working with some group of designers or some group of stakeholders, you guys need to have a particular goals, assumptions that you guys want to achieve, right? So it is inside that research plan. Then we also have methodology. So like I said, that how do you know what to use? A section where you briefly highlight the method or methods you'll be using, why you want and why you want to use them. This is very important, because there are so many methods out there, and they all are kind of very good, but you need to figure out the one that works for you, and the one that, considering the project timeline, the one that will go for it, your the goals you want to achieve, and your budget. So you need to have that. So if you are conducting a research for if you are conducting a research and you have about just 1 or 2 weeks, then you want to go for the diary study that takes up to a month, because the diary study is a long time research study that helps you understand the overall behaviors of users. It's not something you can just go out there and get insights. So it's not done that way. So it's a kind of research that takes more time. So you need to have that in mind. Okay, can I go for this research? Am I given this time, this duration to submit this research study? So you need to have that in mind, the project timeline and the goals. So that will tell you this is the kind of research method that works for you. If it's surveys you want to conduct, or An interview is fine. Okay. Now the participant section is where you describe the kind of people or participants you will need for the study, the kind of users, the kind of target audience you will need. So for qualitative research, you can just have about 5 to 15 people. I think that's even the maximum, because if you are conducting a research like interviews or diary study, for interview you can just have about 5 people, different 5 people, just to conduct a one-on-one conversation with them, and even it might not be up to that. And for focus groups, you have a diverse of 4 to 8 people, right? So those are examples of qualitative research. Now why going further? Why going beyond 15? So for qualitative research, 5 to 15 people is okay, and for quantitative research you can go further beyond this. So that's about the participant section, the kind of people you need and the number of people you need. Now the schedule. The schedule is where you provide details about where you expect to complete the words, the study, including the timeline for recruiting participants where applicable, conducting the study, analysis, and when and how the insights and recommendation will be shared. Okay, you can see that it's like a schedule that will tell you the timeline, the kind of people, the time you need to recruit these people, that means the time you need to conduct this study with these participants. Okay, and the time for conducting analysis for your overall study, the overall information you got, and how the insight and recommendation will be shared among your stakeholders. So you need to have a schedule that have all of these things, the timeline, how you want to recruit your participants. Recruiting participants simply means you already have, maybe you're working on an existing product that you already have stable people that are fixed, people that are using that product. So the time you want to recruit them, a form of situation whereby you send out a recruiting form to them that, oh, please, we want to conduct a study, are you going to be available to conduct a study with us, are you free to do this and the like. So the time for doing that's even in your schedule, so you need to have that also. Now conducting the study, the time for conducting the study, how you are going to making the analysis, and how you are going to be sharing the insights. So these are plans of research. So research planning, the background, questions or hypothesis, methodology, participant section, and schedule. Now how do you now recruit participants? Okay, so it's a method in which you find one person who fits into your target group and have them connect you with to other people who fit into that group. So it's also known as snowballing. So it's a situation whereby, like I said, you ask your users that, oh, please, we need you for this, but maybe it could be that you don't have enough user using your products. You tell them to help you connect with other people that might be interested in conducting that research with you. So it's known as snowballing. Another method is user base. It involves you recruiting straight from your existing user base by selecting the participant that fits a criteria, e.g. that are signed into the app before, and sending them email, or randomly selecting a part of your user base and sending them screener through social media, recruiting firms, your family and friends. So user base is like another method. It does not really require you to ask your users to connect you to other people, unlike snowballing, but you are working with the existing users already. So by sending them screeners, so screeners is a form of like a questionnaire or an email to them that, oh, please, I want to conduct this study with you, will you be available for me? You can share that kind of email with your friends. You can tell your family too that, okay, please, I need you for this, or you can share it to social media. So a screener is a questionnaire designed to ensure that only people who are in your target audience participate in the research. So it's like you already have email you want to share, or a kind of questionnaire you want to share. Okay, but you need people. Right? So it's a kind of a questionnaire that is going to be focusing on only your target audience. Okay, just send them out that kind of random emails to them. And also another method is incentives, giving out money to people or giving them food. Oh, if you participate in this research, I will give you this, I will do that for you. Or telling them thank you for conducting the research with you. So these are kind of ways you can get more people. Try to build rapport with them. Oh, please, can you work with me? Can we conduct this study together? Something like that. Now, let's go into the research best practices. You already know the theory now. Okay, this is what user survey means. This is what user interview means. This is what my plans will look like. How you are now going to be conducting that research. Your best practices. So now, the first thing is to ask open-ended questions. Questions that are straightforward. Questions that are open. Questions that are really obvious, and questions that people can easily translate. Okay, so for more close and multiple questions, even if you have a lot of questions, you need to have open-minded questions to ask. Now, tell me about a time approach. This is another approach you can get to ask people. You can get to connect and build rapport with people, because it helps you get more quality from them. Okay, for instance, if you are working on a particular product and you're conducting a research, okay, please tell me a particular, maybe you already have existing products, like, okay, you are working on a food inventory platform. Okay, tell me, you can ask the user to tell me a time whereby you use this kind of product and you feel some challenges. So like a time approach. So there are experiences while using that product. It helps you get more quality from them. Okay, now avoid leading questions. Don't ask questions that will answer yes or no, that will give you answers like yes or no. Don't, because you are not going to be getting more feedback from that. Even if you are working on a survey or like an interview, you shouldn't ask questions that will give yes or no answer. So you need to avoid leading questions. Now, brainstorm lots of questions. That's another thing. You need to have a lot of questions you want to ask. Though everything needs to be aligned with the time. You need to consider the time first, but you need to have a lot of questions that will help you get more insights. Now, include activities where possible for long or virtual interview. Activities like, okay, please, can you look at this screen? Can you look at this kind of design? Can you look at this kind of features? Can you use them? Something like that. Okay, like an activity that, oh no, I can't use this, I can do that. A kind of act, right? That will involve a kind of act. So now, another one is, before you start, go over details with the participants. That means tell the participant that, give them a clear and detailed instruction that, oh, this is what you want to ask. This is how we are going to be taking everything. This is the stages of this research. Okay, let them be aware, especially if you are conducting an interview. Let them know everything they want to do before you go into it. Okay, I will be recording your voice. Are you okay with that? Some questions like that. Okay, let them be aware of everything you are doing, and that's also to get consent from them. Okay, please, we want to start now. Can we begin? Can we start? That means we are telling them, okay, we want to start. Maybe, for example, we want to record their voices. Okay, please, we want to start. Let them know that you are starting recording right there. And when you want to opt out too, okay, you are going to be opting out now. Thank you, and thank you very much for conducting the research with me. Some things like that. So get consent with them, from them. Building rapport too. Get to know them. Get to familiarize yourself with them. Okay. So embrace silence. Give them room to talk. Don't just go into asking questions. Let them express themselves. Okay. Now, don't ask people to predict the future. So that's another thing. Don't ask them to predict the future. Probe. That means go into go deep. Okay, so and also pilot your research. Before going into the research, test your research plan first. Can try to ask your colleagues if everything is okay. Ask your friends, can you conduct this kind of research, okay, before you go out to talk to people. Okay, so you need to test your research first. So these are best practices you have. Okay, open-ended questions. Tell me about a time approach. Avoid leading questions that will result in yes or no responses. Brainstorm lots of questions. Include activities where possible for long or virtual interview. Before you start, go over details with participants. Give clear and detailed instructions before you go into it. Get consent. Building rapports. Try to know them very well, and also embrace silence. You don't ask people to predict the future, and you probe. Pilot your research, testing your research plan before going into it. Now this takes us to research reports. Okay, after your research, after you've done your research, then you have a report. Okay, a report you give out to your stakeholders. So the purpose of a research report is to communicate your research findings to stakeholders and recommend actions, the next step. So you can see is a kind of report that communicates your findings with the stakeholders. This is what we got, this is the insight we got. Okay, and helps you determine what next you need to do. Is it that you need to go into coming up with your information architecture, user flow before going into sketching and the likes? So it is a justification of resources spent carrying out the research. It talks about everything that involves the research. Okay, this is the amount of money we spent, this is the time we spent, this is the this is the information we could gather and the likes. Okay, so it's a report that communicates your research findings and everything attached to your research with the stakeholders. So components of a user research report. So if you are working on a research, okay, and you have done your findings and everything, these are what is needed. You have a plan, right? You have a research plan that that contains background, everything, and after you conducted that research, then you need to have a report too. Okay, so and these are components of user research report. These are things that are supposed to be on the user research report: the research goals, the key metrics, research methodology, the size and nature of the participants, key insights with detailed findings, recommended actions. So the research goals, these are goals you wanted to achieve. Okay, were you able to achieve them? Were you able to achieve these goals? Key metrics, research methodology, the methods you use for your research, the size and nature of the participants, kind of participants you conducted the research with, key insights with detailed findings. That is the essence of research. What are the insights you got? Okay, so and also recommended actions. What is needed to be done? So then we have synthesizing and analyzing your data. After your research, you already have your research report, everything, you already have detailed findings, right? So you need to synthesize and analyze. So synthesizing is the process of organizing and interpreting the data collected during user research. So try to figure out how you can section this information you gather. Okay, this particular information will tailor to this feature. Let me organize it this way. How I can interpret this data. Okay, it involves looking for patterns and trends in the data and identifying insights that can inform the design process. Okay, this is what is really important. This section is very, very important because it determines how you can be a good researcher. That means how you can organize information. Okay, so identifying uh, collected insights, identifying insights that are very very similar together. Okay, try to organize them together. And what analysis means? Analysis is the process of digging deeper into the what data to understand the underlying causes and relationships between the findings. You already section everything. Okay, try to figure out, okay, what is the relationship between the findings? Okay, this information and this one. What is why is this happening, and what is the root cause of this kind of problem based on your research? So it involves questions like that. So a typical example of your analysis, how you can get that analysis going, is, okay, we are still going to be getting into it. Now, tips for synthesizing. Before you can go into synthesizing data you've got, is to have a debrief session immediately after your research, because it's very very important. If you try to delay it, you might be having issue with synthesizing the data. So after your research is done, immediately try to have a kind of brief of everything you've done. Now, better if done with others to avoid bias. So if you are working in a group of people, in a group of designers, synthesizing, you need to do it with others to avoid bias. So work on a template too. You need to have a template that you are working on. Okay, this is a kind of template. Just have that. It's not really important. But if you can work on synthesizing alone, it's fine. So if you have that template, it's also fine. It guides you on how you can work, on how you can synthesize and organize those information. Now, employ thematic analysis. This is now where it's very very important. To be able to get all of this done, you need to employ this kind of analysis. So it's a top down, bottom up analysis. Okay, so this is how it looks like. So how you conduct that thematic analysis, you've already conducted the research, right? Then you get to familiarize yourself with those information first. Try to digest those information. So familiarization is the first thing. Then you look for themes in the code. What I mean by that is things that are very very similar together. Okay, try to look for them. Okay, I think this information is very related to this one. Try to look for that. Review those themes. Okay, review it again even after you sectioned it, after you gathered, organized similar information. You need to review it again. Okay, let me see, does it work well? Is it okay for me to go on with this? Then you now finalize. Okay, I'm going on with this. These are features that are going on with it. Okay, so then you write the report writing. That's the next step. Okay, we already said that report writing helps you communicate your report with the what, with your research with the stakeholders. Okay, but before you can go on with that, you need to familiarize it before you can go on with the report writing, because without this you can't get to do your what is it called, your detailed findings. You can't get that. You can't get to submit that if you don't have a thematic analysis. So it's a top down analysis where you try to familiarize yourself with the information first, look for the similar insights in your research, and try to review everything and finalize it. Then you go further to the report writing. So steps for analysis. So collect and organize your data and everything in one place. These are what we've been talking about. Explore your data for findings. Pull out important details based on the themes you have, right? Based on the similar information you got. Sort and map the data categories. So a top-down analysis, another name for it is affinity diagram. It results not another name. It results in affinity diagram. So affinity diagram is like organizing your information too. Okay, organizing it, section everything. So if you go check how does an affinity diagram looks like. Okay, I don't have an image here. It's just like what sectioning information you gathered. Now identify user insights. Insights you got, identify them. So these are steps. Everything is just the same thing. You keep saying the same thing. Okay, so the first thing is collect and organize your data. It's the same with familiarize, try to know everything. No, is to collect your data first and organize it. Try to know it. Explore your data for findings. Pull out important details based on what the things. Sort and map the data categories. Identify user insights. So I think Mr. Bob has joined us now. Okay, let me just ask a question. Any question before I proceed? Any question? I'm waiting. Okay, I'll be waiting for questions, then I proceed. Now, providing recommendations. After your research is done, your analysis, now providing recommendations after synthesizing and analyzing your data. So make decisions based on what your data is showing. This include new ideas to develop, try to come up with new ideas to develop, new questions, adjustment to the design if it's that you conducted an evaluative research, new user stories, present your research to your team and have a repository. So this is just what we've been talking about, just trying to change the words so that you get to understand it better. So now, even after your research is done, okay, there are some deliverables. Though you have your research reports, but there is also something we call UX deliverables or research deliverables. So it includes user personas, user journey or customer journey map, empathy map, task analysis, user flows. Okay, these are information you got from your research, but in form of deliverables. So user persona is like a representative of what your user looks like, everything about your user, user demographics, user frustrations, the goals of that user, how user wants to achieve this goal, and everything. That's about user persona. And user journey is like an overall engagement with your product. Empathy map is also something like user persona, but it talks about what people say, what the user say, how the user feel, what the user do, and what the user think. Okay, so it contains those four things. And also we have task analysis, and we also have user flow. So user flow is like a flow of what your design will look like, a flow of your information and everything. So I think we've come to an end of this slide. So we talked about different methods of user research, starting from usability testing, interviews, focus groups. Then we talked about surveys, diary studies, ethnographic research, A/B testing, and quantitative usability and web or app analytics. So like I said, this research method is not limited to just this few, but these are common ones that people use. So we also have research plan. So it's a concise reference point for your project timeline, goals, main players, and objectives. So you need to, in everything we do in life, we have plans. So same goes for research, and it must contain project timeline, the goals, the main players, your target audience, and the objective of your research. So I said you should ask yourself these questions before you go into your research. Who is your target audience? uh, what is who is your target audience? What is the potential impact for this research, and why is the research important? So we also talked about planning your research, methodology, participant section, your schedules, background, questions and objective, questions and hypothesis. So we talked about how you can get users. Okay, so sometimes my students do ask me that, how do you know your target audience? How do you get them? How do you get people? So this is an approach. You meet people, that's it. You try to talk with people. Please, can you do this with me? And or if you are working on a mature industry that already have existing user, you can just use this approach to send out screeners to them. Oh, please, can you conduct this research with us? Okay, or use snowballing. Snowballing is when you get out, go and meet some people and you tell them to connect with people that might be interested in also working on that research with you. So, or using this incentive method that, okay, you meet people, please, if you can conduct this research with me, I will give you this, I'll give you that. So that's another thing, another approach. And now you can get people. So we talked about research best practices, and I gave a lot of best practices, open-ended questions, tell me about the time approach, and lots and lots. So we have research reports too. After your research is done, you need to have a report, right? It helps to communicate your findings with your stakeholders and everybody involved in the team. Okay, so it involves things like research goals, key metrics, research methodology, the methods you use, the size and nature of the participants, people you conducted the research with, key insights, detailed findings, recommended actions. Okay, so how you can synthesize and analyze your data, tips for doing that, your thematic analysis, your top-down analysis, right? And how you can get it done. So after your research is done, these are recommended things you should do. New ideas to develop, new questions, adjustment to the design, new user stories. Sometimes even after you conducted the research, you still don't get what is needed. So you can just come up with some other questions and still carry out another research until you get insights you needed. So after that, you also have UX delivery. So for designers, this UX delivery is very, very important because it helps you get to understand these people very well and try to figure out how you can section their overall experiences in some in some kind of deliveries. So we've come to an end of this class. So I'll wait for about 5 minutes to check if there is any question. So like that. If there is any question. So before we stop, before we end the class, so you can prepare yourself for the next week. We are going to be going into deliverables. This user persona, user journey map, empathy map, task analysis, and user flow. So, and hopefully, if you have the time, we are going to be starting our research on that day. Okay, so by God's grace. Okay. Okay. Okay, since you said there's no question, so please prepare your mind for this. You can go out and try to understand this thing so that when we are in class it will flow very well. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you for your time. So we meet again next week. Enjoy your rest of the Sundays.